Hey, welcome back. So you've decided to replace your kitchen faucet. It's a great idea. It's a good way to upgrade the look, as well as if you're having problems with your current one, you can kind of get those things taken care of at the same time. Kitchen faucets can cost an incredible amount of money or a reasonable amount of money. And there is a small amount of you get what you pay for with them, but don't be afraid to limit it to $70 to $100 for a decent faucet. You can usually get a decent faucet for around that amount. Now, the only special tool I'll really be using for this that I could use is more for convenience than anything else. And one of the sides of this plumbing tool from Rigid can be used to tighten the larger plastic nuts that are used on to install these faucets sometimes. So you might be able to use that. The toughest part about this job is climbing underneath your sink, because let's face it, there isn't a lot of room underneath there. And if you are my size, there's even less room. So I thought it might be simpler to build something where I could tilt it up and you could see the back side of the faucet, really have an idea of what you're looking for once you get under there. Good lighting is always great. A small battery-operated light of some kind tucked back in a corner, or work light of some kind. You don't need to clear everything out from underneath the sink really to have plenty of space to work anyways, and that'll give you room to get the light underneath there. But it's still, this will make it easier to observe, so bear with us as I move it up and down to get at it the way we need to get at it. Now underneath the sink, you're going to find your sprayer line with a separate sprayer. You're going to find your two supply lines. The first thing you're going to want to do is to turn off those supply valves and make sure the water is stopped. You might relieve the pressure by turning on the faucet briefly. You're still going to get some spill out of these, so just be prepared. These come off really simply. They shouldn't be too incredibly tight. You might need an adjustable wrench, but hopefully not. And once they're loose, they'll unscrew rather simply. Now with this particular type of sink design, you'll also need to loosen and remove the sprayer nozzle. And be prepared because it'll also have some water in it. Now, as you can see, the two plastic nuts I was talking about earlier, I could use any sort of tool. A set of channel locks might grab them just fine. And because we have this tool and the convenience of it, we'll just use it real quick. You can see how, because of the depth of the handle of the tool, I would be below the level of the sink while loosening those. And once they're loose enough to do by hand, you simply unscrew these guys. There is a wide array of methods that sink manufacturers use to hold, or faucet manufacturers use to hold their faucets in place. So yours might be exactly like this, or it might be slightly different. We often find that the hot and cold supply lines and the sprayer nozzle attachment line all come out of the center. And in that case, it'll have a slightly different type of attachment method. Once those are loose, you have to go back top side to get the sprayer out of the way and get the faucet relocated. You may fight with the tubing a little bit. That's totally normal. Once you set the sprayer aside, your new faucet doesn't have a sprayer. It has a sprayer that's built in. It's not a separate sprayer in this case. So we're going to remove the mount for the sprayer because we're going to put a soap dispenser there. And that removes the same way actually as the other side did. You're just trying to loosen a plastic nut. And once that's off, it'll come right out. If it ever comes off. Okay, come off now. Almost there. Wow, that's the longest thing ever. Okay, there it is. Once that's off and out of the way, the faucet can come off. Now I got to warn you, if that faucet's been on for very long, this surface of the sink right here is going to need some attention before you're ready to put in the new one. It's also possible, and the main reason why it might need some attention, is that your new base flange might not have the exact same footprint as your old one. So anything, any sort of corrosion or buildup that's underneath that will need to be removed, or it might be visible with your new plate in place. Okay. All of the hose attachments for this faucet come out of the center, so they simply run down through the base plate. Like so. And then down through the sink. And once you've got that in place, you're ready to go down to the bottom side. But since we're doing a soap dispenser installation at the same time, I'm going to remove the bottle from the soap dispenser, set it aside. Then we're also going to remove the mounting nut from the pump. This is the second longest one ever in the history of man. Almost got it. There's a rubber gasket on this particular one that's going to go on the bottom side of the nut as well. Now, because it's got this rubber mating surface on it, you want to double check the instructions, but you're not going to need to do anything to that bottom flange at all. Same with the sink. They had no expectations that we would do anything to the base of that either. So they're both good and ready to install from the bottom side now. Now, this particular faucet uses a nut with a metal washer and a rubber washer as well. The rubber is going to be the first thing up, and then the metal, and then the nut. That way the nut can be spun freely. So I'm going to stand it back up and we'll get that attached. Now, all of these things have to run up the hoses. So we're just going to make sure they slide all the way up the hoses like they need to. That might take some finagling, but be patient, you'll get it. All I'm doing now is tightening the nut in place. We'll use the adjustable pliers here in a moment to make sure it's just right. I like to get it adjusted to where it sits still, but it's not tight, fully seated yet. And then go back to the top side to make sure we have the alignment we're looking for. So let's double check that. We want to make sure the faucet is square and lined up with the center of the sink. It's real close, but that should take care of it. We'll go back down to the bottom side and get it finished up. With the adjustable pliers, we'll get this big nut set and be ready to go. Now, the soap dispenser. Now's the perfect time to get it tight as well. You also want to get it centered in its hole And that doesn't need to be ridiculously tight, just tight enough to get it to sit still. The bottle can be filled with soap right away and screwed into position. Now, we need to install a weight on the sprayer hose. Otherwise, it will put up a fight when you try to put it back in. The weight helps keep it balanced. Now, this particular weight, everybody seems like theirs is a little bit different, but you're just going to align up the holes on the base of the hose. You can see that one has a flat spot, and so does that one. Those are going to be where our screws go in opposite directions. This particular one uses 2 screws that you use a Phillips screwdriver to tighten. They're pre-designed for this, so you don't have to worry about the weight pinching off the water in the hose. It's designed to just kind of grip the hose and move with it. Once those are on and tight, one of these will be labeled hot and cold. In this case, they're color-coded with a red stripe and a blue stripe. The red will obviously be for hot, and the blue will obviously be for cold. And in this case, the fittings on this end are different than the original sink we put in, and that's going to require a change in supply lines, which isn't a big deal. It's a simple thing. They're inexpensive. And with the installation of those supply lines, you can get it wrapped up from the top. Now, up here, all that's left is to install the sprayer nozzle. We will put the weight on it underneath and be good to go. There you go. Push button will change it from spray to stream. Normal hot and cold operation. Once you've got the new supply lines in place, you'll turn it on, double check for leaks at the sprayer connection, at the supply line connections, and make sure you're ready to go. The soap sprayers have a tendency to take quite a few pumps to really get primed, but once they're primed, they work great. So now you can go get yours swapped out so you can enjoy it in a different way. Have a great day.